Hey guys, coming in with another movie review for you guys, and this movie we're reviewing, I've wanted to watch for a very long time. I've heard many people say this is one of the best films of the year, and I knew I had to check it out because, like I said, I'm basically just trying to binge as many 2015 movies as possible so I can have the most accurate top 10 list, and I knew that this is definitely one of the ones that I had to check out. I really wanted to see this movie in theaters, but I just didn't get the chance to. I've been very busy, I haven't had the time or the money, and I just really didn't get a chance to see this movie in theaters. Unfortunately, I did get to watch it on Solar Movie. Thankfully, it was on Solar Movie because I did really want to see it. And that movie is Creed. Creed was a movie that I honestly was a bit skeptical about. I really was. Mainly because 2015, it seems, has been the year of resurrecting dead franchises. A very good example of that is Jurassic World, Terminator Genesis, Fantastic Four, all of these attempts, Vacation, all these attempts in trying to bring back franchises, and they've mostly failed. I mean, the only one that's really done a halfway decent job is Mad Max Fury Road. That really is the only one that actually worked out very well. So I was a bit worried for Creed because I really didn't know if this movie was necessary, particularly necessary, and if it was really gonna work. And I was a bit worried. I really was, just because I've heard that after the first, Rocky, and I've seen the first Rocky, that's the only one I've seen, and I've heard that's really the only one you need to see because the other ones aren't all that great. Although I did hear the last one was really great, and I'm happy to say that Creed is just as great as the original Rocky. I love this movie. By far, one of my, definitely going to be in my top 10 list for the end of the year. I absolutely loved it. And it's it's a movie that should not work, but it really does. And there's so many things that just work perfectly in this movie. But let's get to the plot of Creed, which the plot in general is one of the reasons I love the movie as much as I do. Because the plot is not focused on let's resurrect the Rocky franchise, it's just focused on let's expand the story. And that's exactly what they did. Because our main character here is not Rocky. Rocky's in the movie, but he's not the main character. The main character is this guy named Donnie, or Adonis, if you don't want to shorten his name. His name is Adonis, but Donnie for short. Everyone calls him Donnie. He is basically, this is a very troubled individual. He has been to juvie several times. He gets very erratic at times, and he eventually learns, when he's a young child, he learns that he's the son of Apollo Creed. And he basically, when Creed's wife, Marianne, takes him in, and basically 17 years later, he wants to basically follow his father's footsteps and become a professional boxer. And everyone's telling him this is not a good idea. It's not going to work out well for you. You're not going to make it. It's just not going to work out. But he is persistent, and not only does he want to, be a professional boxer, he wants to seek out, Apollo Creed's, old friend, Apollo Creed's best friend, Rocky, and wants Rocky to train him. And basically, these two start to form a bond together, and that basically is a plot of Creed. And yeah, there is more of him taking someone down. That's really not the plot of this movie, though, which is something I've really loved here. A lot of this movie, this is not a movie where it's focused on him taking down this greater force. That's not what this movie is at all. This is a lot more of a character-driven movie, and that's one of the reasons the movie works so well, mainly because of the acting. I thought the acting from everyone was phenomenal. Everyone did a really great job in this movie, especially the two leads. Michael B. Jordan was perfectly casted as Donnie Creed. I was a bit worried for Michael B. Jordan. I mean, he's been doing a good job, but after Fantastic Four, I'm like, I really hope he turns in a really good performance here, and he really was fantastic in this movie. I love the character of Donnie Creed. This is a guy that just wants to do what he does best, and wants to, thinks my father can do it, I want to do this, and he just wants to follow his father's footsteps, and he's not going to take no for an answer. He's not the kind of man that's going to listen to someone and basically just not follow his dreams. He wants to follow his dreams. He wants to be a boxer, and he wants whatever it takes to do that, but he also really wants a father figure in his life, and that's something I really loved about his character. One of the reasons that he wants Rocky in his life so much is because he never really had a father figure, and that's something he really does get with Rocky, and that's something I thought was really great in the movie. He definitely did a very good job. He has several incredible scenes in this movie. Now, I'm not going to say he was necessarily Oscar-worthy, because he's not the Oscar-worthy performance in this film. We'll get into that, but he definitely did a great job, and at least, I guess, some sort of recognition. I'd like to have some sort of recognition for him because he definitely did a very good job. And Michael B. Jordan, is a great actor and definitely he's gone very far. Definitely, he's gone from Fruitvale Station to a very mainstream movie, and I'm very happy that he was in this movie. However, though, the best thing about this movie, without a doubt, is Sylvester Stallone as Rocky. Seeing him back as Rocky in general is incredible. The fact that he is still able to play this character. But the thing I love the most about Rocky in this movie is that he is completely different than the Rocky we've seen before. This is not the same Rocky that's ready to fight. In fact, this Rocky is actually a bit against boxing, because if you guys don't know, in the last movie, Rocky Balboa, he lost a boxing match. His career as a boxer is pretty much over, and he's really suffering because the death of Adrian. He also has, he's going through some heart problems and things like that. And it's very interesting the way these two really do bond. They have a lot of similarities in their life, and you start to realize that these two are very similar. As dissimilar as Rocky thinks they actually are very similar and really do help each other for the better. And, their bond is by far the best thing about this movie. I really love their bond. It really carried the entire film, and they both did an incredible job. And Sylvester Stallone has so many fantastic scenes in this movie. He was also so funny at points. I mean, something I love about Rocky is that he doesn't necessarily train Donnie. What he does is he uses some of the methods that Mickey and Apollo taught him and applies that to Donnie. And some of the things that he does with him are completely ridiculous, but they're really funny to watch. And you definitely get a sense of Rocky's that father figure that Donnie never had, which I definitely loved seeing. And you also, Rocky's been through a lot, and you really get those great breakdowns with him. There are certain things that he just doesn't really want to talk about, and you can tell, hasn't really opened up to someone like he has with Donnie in a while, and they definitely did an incredible job. Their bonding was great, and I really loved everything about their bonding. If I had to have one gripe with the film, it's mainly the character of Tessa Thompson as Bianca. Don't get me wrong, I really did like her character. I thought she did a very good job, and there were a lot of homages to Rocky and Adrian. In my opinion, that is the only reason she's in this movie. I don't really see the reason for Bianca to be in this film. She is basically Donnie's main love interest, which is fine. I'm happy that he had a love interest. It didn't really feel like it necessarily went with the narrative flow of this movie, and a lot of her scenes weren't slow, but they did detract a bit from the movie, and I'm kind of like, is this necessary? Because the first Rocky was essentially a romance. It really was. I mean, a lot of it was a romance between Rocky and Adrian. But when you have this bond between Donnie and Rocky, I didn't really feel the romance was necessary, and kind of felt like something that belonged in the sequel. And that, to me, just felt like they were trying to pay homage, kind of like what Jurassic World did, where they tried to put everything in here. Now, they did it in a much better way than Jurassic World, because Jurassic World literally just put everything from the first one in this movie, and I think Tessa Thompson overall did a good job, and Michael B. Jordan and her do have good chemistry. I just felt their character as a whole wasn't that interesting. I didn't love her character. I thought she did a good job overall. I just thought that their plot overall was kind of unnecessary in this film. Who I was definitely very impressed by, surprisingly, was Felicia Rashad. I loved her character in this movie because she's experienced a lot just like Rocky has. This is the widow of Apollo. She knows what, this job entails. She knows what this is going to do to Donnie. She doesn't want Donnie to live this life. She doesn't want Donnie to have to go through what Apollo did. She's worried that Donnie is going to turn out like Apollo, and she really doesn't want that. And you definitely see that she and Apollo, never really got to have the life that she really wanted, because, Apollo and her really never raised this child together. She's having problems with that, but I really thought she did a great job. You really see her as this great mother of Donnie. I thought the two of them had very good chemistry, and I definitely really loved her scene. She definitely did a very good job. Tony Bellew as the main villain, Ricky Conlon, really does have a lot of similarities to Apollo, in the sense that he's powerful, he wants to fight, and he's fair. He really is. He's not a bad guy by any means. He's just simply the opponent for Donnie. And that's something I really love, is that the fight really isn't as big as a deal in this movie. Yes, it's a big deal, but a lot of it is more of Donnie just battling with himself. There's a lot that he's going through, and he needs to step up and conquer those personal demons in order to take down, his main force in this movie, which I thought was definitely really great, and I definitely really loved seeing that. So overall, guys, all the acting I thought was really great in this movie. I thought everyone really did a great job, especially the main two performers. The directing here by Ryan Coogler, I really do admit, admire, because this does feel different from other Rocky films, but it also does feel like a Rocky film. We'll get into that. He definitely kept the tone of a Rocky film in this movie. Rocky films are never just about the boxing. If you go into a Rocky film wanting the boxing, that's fine, but that's not what the movies are really about. They're about these characters and how they deal with what they're going through. The first Rocky was about a man trying to become tougher and trying to push himself, and that's very much what Donnie is trying to do. Just like Rocky in the first film, a lot of people aren't thinking Donnie is cut out for this, and that he just isn't really the person to take on this kind of job, just like Rocky was. Is it for different reasons? Yes, there are different reasons why they think Donnie isn't as cut out for this, but you definitely, like I said, get those similarities that Rocky had in the first movie, and they did that very, very well. But the thing that works, I think, the best in this movie is the emotion here. The emotion is just so great. The relation these two have is just so genuine and so deep, and I loved it. And the directing overall, I really thought was perfect. The screenplay is one of the best of the year, by far one of the best of the year. There are so many amazing scenes in this movie. So many scenes where I'm just like, that is an Oscar scene, that is an Oscar scene. The movie really didn't feel like Oscar bait, though. It really felt like a movie that we needed to see. After the Rocky films, we needed to see this movie. We needed to see what happened to Rocky after Rocky Balboa. It didn't really seem necessary, but in the end of the day, it really was a necessary movie, and there are many reasons why. And something I love the most about this movie is the way they paid homage to Rocky. There are several training montages in this movie. One that I'm like, that is one of the best things I have seen all year. If you guys know what I'm talking about, there is one training montage where they do sort of what Rocky did in the first movie, with his first training montage. And if you guys have seen it, I literally sat there and I'm like, that is one of the coolest things I have seen all year. They were awesomely they were just awesomely done. I thought it was perfect, and the story overall, I thought was very, very investing. I really did love the story. I really got into it right away, I have to say. That's one of the things I love, is that the movie really sucks you in. You honestly forget that you're watching a Rocky movie until Rocky comes in. You're like, oh yeah, I'm watching a Rocky movie, because that's how much this movie wants to be its own thing. You don't need to watch the other Rocky movies to understand this movie, which I definitely really appreciate. Things like Jurassic World and Terminator Genesis, those you have to go back and watch the other movies to really understand those movies. You know, Jurassic World, I think you do need to go back because you will understand some of the references. Terminator Genesis, you know, you really need to rewatch all the films to understand really what they're trying to say in that. And this, you really didn't need to do that. And that's what makes a great, reboot. This is not a reboot, though. It's a sequel, but it's also a reboot, and it really works as both, and I definitely love that. I think they really handled that very, very well, I have to say, and I really loved a lot of the scenes in this movie. The movie also, surprisingly, has a lot to say about the media and what the media can do to someone, and how the media can play with someone's mind. There are a lot of things this movie I thought was going to do, and they didn't do, and I love that. Like I said, this is not necessarily a movie that should work, but there's so many directions I'm glad the movie didn't go in. For example, there's a part of the movie where I really thought that all of this fame was going to go to Donnie's head. It never happens in the movie, and I'm so happy he did that, because that is one of the most cliched things you can do in any sports film, and this movie didn't do that at all, and I'm very happy that they did not do that. They did something much better than that, and I definitely really love seeing that. Definitely very good stuff there. I definitely really enjoyed that. But I also love what was going on with Rocky in this film. Like I said, he's dealing with a lot of personal things. A lot more than you think he is. He's really reflecting on a lot of things in this movie. And a lot of this movie is him getting closure to things that he really hasn't gotten closure to. Like the death of Paulie, like the death of Adrian, like, for example, him having to embody both Mickey and Apollo, him having to embody them, him having to revisit, training and things like that, things that he never thought he'd see again, and really, that's something that I thought was very interesting in this movie. And there are some heartbreaking scenes in this movie. This is really a movie where you don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you this, guys. If you watch the trailer and think you know what's going to happen in this movie, you don't. You really don't. I mean, this movie tells you something, and that's not what happens, and I'm very happy that they did that. I absolutely love that. I think they handled that very, very well, and I'm glad the movie was not cliched really at all. I didn't find find anything really cliched about this movie, mainly because I just thought they really took a lot of risks with it, and I thought they handled that very, very well, I have to say. Now, without a doubt, this movie is some of the best cinematography I have seen all year, and if you guys thought the Southpaw scenes were well choreographed, that is nothing compared to the scenes in Creed. The scenes in Creed are so well choreographed. There are only 3 fight scenes in this film. 3. Not too many. And that's fine, because like I said, the movie isn't focusing on this conflict. It's a part of the film, obviously. Donnie needs to take down someone, but a lot of it is more of him just dealing with himself, and these scenes are so well done. There's one scene that I am convinced was shot in one take. I'm convinced it was shot in one take because it never leaves Donnie's sight. You see what Donnie's going through. You feel like you're in this boxing ring with him. It really was very psychological. It's one of the coolest, and just like those montages, one of the coolest things I've seen all year. I absolutely love that. I thought they handled that very, very well, and the final fight as well. I was on the edge of my seat. I mean, there are a few movies this year where I've been glued to my seat. This is a scene where I had no idea what was going to happen here, and I love that. I didn't know what was going to happen, and they always do that very well with the Rocky movies, where you never know what's going to happen in these fight scenes, and something that people say about the Rocky films, that they became very predictable. You knew that Rocky was going to win, you knew that he was going to lose, really didn't know what was going to happen. And this one you don't, because Rocky's not fighting, so you don't know if Donnie is going to be as successful as Rocky, and the way the movie ends, I thought was just great. I really thought the way they ended it was perfect. The cinematography, though, really looked amazing. You felt like you were watching a real fight scene. I mean, if you guys don't like boxing, like I don't, you guys know I have no interest in sports whatsoever, this movie will get you interested regardless, and I absolutely love that about this movie. Definitely, that's something they did very, very well. The score to this movie, they did a good job of not making this too much like the Rocky score. Now, it does appear in this movie. I'm going to say that. The Rocky score appears, and I kind of freaked out when I heard the Rocky score. I'm like, oh my god, the Rocky score. I mean, it's such an iconic score. How can you not just light up when you hear that score? The second I heard it, I sat in my seat, I sat on my bed, and I was like, holy shit, that is amazing. Just hearing that score again in a movie in 2015 is amazing. The fact that we can still hear that score, the fact that we still have that score, I think is incredible, and I'm very happy that they kept the score, because that's one of the most essential things in a Rocky movie, and I think they did that very, very well, and I was definitely very impressed by that. If I had to have one issue with the film, it is the editing. There were a few scenes I felt were a bit slow. Just a bit. Just a tiny bit. Just a little bit slow. Nothing much else. I just felt there were some scenes that were a bit slow in the very beginning of the film. I thought they were important, but like I said, a lot of the scenes between Donnie and I don't even remember her name now because I didn't really feel she was that important. Bianca, I just felt a lot of their scenes were very unnecessary and dragged on definitely a bit too long. I really thought that was really my only problem in this movie. Other than that, guys, I really don't have many complaints with Creed at all. Creed overall is by far one of the best films I've seen all year. I definitely really loved it. It's also a very inspirational film. I mean, you'll leave this movie feeling very inspired. You'll leave this movie wanting to do what Donnie does, and they did that very, very well. You should feel that sense of accomplishment and just get inspired when you watch a Rocky film. These movies are all about things like perseverance and believing in yourself and conquering your demons. That's what all of these movies are about, and this movie really solidified that very well. Something else I love is that they don't necessarily close everything in the Rocky franchise in this movie. Yes, this movie ends where it could be the end, but it's still open for more. In fact, Michael B. Jordan said he'd like to do another one, which would be awesome. I would love it if he just goes on and continues to make these movies. It would be great if he did that, because he's doing a very good job at keeping that legacy alive. Rocky's a franchise that we need in 2015. It really is. We need films like Creed, because there are just so many things going on in the world that people really lose hope, and there are a lot of people in the world that just don't think they can do things, and Rocky's one of those franchises that tells you, no, you can do something if you believe in yourself. If you don't listen to other people and do what you want to do, you can do it, and I love that, and That's one of the reasons I love Creed as much as I do. That's one of the reasons I love Rocky franchise as much as I do. And overall, guys, I absolutely love Creed. One of the best films of the year by far. Will definitely be on my top 10 list. If you guys haven't checked it out, please check out Creed. It's an incredible film. And I am definitely going to give Creed a 4.5 out of 5 or an A. Like I said, besides those scenes with Donnie and Bianca, this is a pretty flawless film. I mean, if all those scenes were cut out, I would have absolutely loved this film and called it a masterpiece. It honestly really is as great as the first one. There's so many things I just loved about it. I am so happy with how great this movie turned out. I can't wait to watch again. When I was done with it, I was like, I can't wait to watch that again. It's such an awesome movie. If you guys haven't checked it out, check it out now. It's an incredible movie. It's a movie that I definitely feel we are going to hear about at the Oscars, especially for Sylvester Stallone. He is definitely going to get Best Supporting Actor, and he definitely damn well deserves it. I mean, really, he really does deserve it in this movie. But let me know what you guys saw this movie. You have seen it. I absolutely loved every minute of Creed. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you guys in my next one, which will be for another movie review, which this is another movie that I've wanted to see for a very long time. Finally came on to Solar Movie, thank God, and I will be able to review it for you guys, so I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.